you check the children? Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes. That is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird, and I'm here to do a review of the brand new release, Oddity. And this one is written and directed by Damian McCarthy, his last film being a film called Caveat that was from 2020. I'm not sure which streaming service it's on, but I know it's on one. It might be Shudder, but I could be wrong on that. I actually haven't seen Caveat yet, but I'm way more interested to watch it now after watching McCarthy's second film here. This movie was very good, I gotta say. I mean, I'm going to do this review like we do all of our reviews. I'm going to talk about the overall thoughts and the story, the acting, the effects, all that good stuff in turn. Now, I am saying that this movie was really good. However, I am not fall head over heels in love with this movie like a lot of people seem to be, saying it's the scariest movie of the year. I don't know if I agree with that. I think there's a couple of moments. There's one moment in particular that got me good enough to get my heart pumping, but it's the equivalent of a jump scare, just without the score sting at the very same time. So it was effective as a scare, but it was also kind of cheap as a scare. Otherwise, there's one sequence that was a little unnerving, but I've seen so many other things that have done a similar thing better that it didn't really, stand my hair on end, so to speak. So the film, while very well made, and they create an awesome atmosphere throughout the film, and the people, the actors are just acting their asses off, and I dug all the performances. The film is a really well made film. I just think it just didn't blow me out of the water. I'd say if I was going to give it a rating out of the gate, probably 3.5 out of 5 stars. But it's very worth your time to see. Is it necessary to see it in the theater? I don't think so. I think that as long as you have a good sound system at home, then you can wait and watch it at home. If your sound system is just like the TV speakers, then yeah, I recommend going to the theater, because the sound design of the film alone, I think, was a very strong point of it, and you'd be missing out entirely on most of that with just the TV speakers. So getting into it more in depth, the movie, and I wasn't sure how to say, I couldn't really figure out the best way to explain the story, so I'm just going to go from what IMDb and Google say, and that's uncovering the truth behind sister's death with the help of wooden mannequin, or after the brutal murder of her twin sister, Darcy goes after those responsible using haunted items as her tools for revenge. It's weird. The real description is somewhere in between those two things, I guess. But it's a really well crafted film. The story itself is, I guess you can say, it's about this house. Really, there's something happens to someone early in the film in the house, and then it's a matter of a man and his new girlfriend moving into the house, and her coming to grips with some oddities around the house, around this brand new house. And it develops from there. I don't want to say more except for the fact that there is a woman brought into it who is blind, who is related to someone who's related to the person involved in the tragedy towards the beginning of the film. So that is the long and short of it without spoiling anything. That's just what's presented both in the trailer and in these descriptions. I don't want to say anything more than that, because I think it would do the film a disservice to go any further than that. I think even one of those descriptions may be a bit far, but I don't think it's going to ruin it for anyone. So definitely give this one a try if you are intrigued by that storyline, as cagey as I've been about it. Because it's a good setup for the atmosphere. Again, the film is crafted very, very well. Damian McCarthy definitely knows his way around, as I said, creating atmosphere, working with his cinematographer to have some really beautiful shots. The cinematography was gorgeous in the film. The color palette was really nice. It was a bit cold, but necessarily at times contrasted by some warmer tones in some other scenes. So I feel like he knew what he was doing as far as utilizing the tones of the film color-wise. I don't know if anyone would complain about the darkness. I feel like some people might, but I didn't really have that issue. I feel like the darkness as portrayed in this, which was sometimes very deep and very all-consuming of the frame, I think that was both really cool and necessary for the atmosphere they were trying to set up. This house is a character unto itself at times as far as settings go. I thought the production design really sung in that way. This house is like an old castle with wooden infrastructure added in later, it seems. Like that's the vibe I get off of it, but it's really cool nonetheless, and a really great, you know, setting for the horror that takes place. And so I appreciated the simplistic nature of the setup and the, you know, the fact that we didn't have a million locations. It was mostly taking place at this house, and they utilized the space very well with the production. And I thought, you know, that's something that deserves to be called out. I also, as I mentioned earlier, think the sound design was great. The score was phenomenal, and I think they both worked together very harmoniously and noticeably, which is not in the bad way. Like, I didn't notice the score because it was like grating on me or because it was clearly trying to get my attention. I feel like the score and the sound design were very complementary of each other, as well as assisting in building this atmosphere I keep mentioning. And again, I'm talking a little slow because I'm making sure not to spoil anything, but yeah, it all goes towards establishing a mood throughout this entire film and maintaining it. So I feel like they did that phenomenally as well. And again, the acting from, you know, the husband and the girlfriend, as well as the people that were involved in the beginning and the supporting characters later on, I think they all acquitted themselves fantastically. Some people get to shine a bit more than others, but I think that everyone really did a fantastic job. And finally, the effects. I think the effects were really cool in this one. They utilized a lot of what they were doing well, including the cinematography and the framing of the shots to build cool effects without needing to, like, they could have been digital effects, but you couldn't really notice because of the way they were integrated. And there were largely practical effects. There was some practical makeup, there was some practical gore, not a ton, but enough to really, you know, be like, oh wow, that's pretty hefty. That wouldn't be in a PG-13 movie. So that all did really well also. So I mean, it's a strange thing, guys. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I'm talking glowingly about almost all the parts of this film. I guess it's just the story itself played out a little bit familiarly to me. Familiarly to me. Is that? Yeah, I think I'm saying that right. It all rang a little familiar, but it was done with aplomb, you know, with high skill, and especially for independent films. I really want to watch Caveat because Damien impressed me with this, and lots of good independent Damiens out there, right? Damien McCarthy, Damien Leone. I think there's even another one too. So yeah, Oddity is worth your time, guys. Again, I don't think you necessarily have to rush out to the theater to see it. I think it's just limited release anyway. But as soon as it drops on streaming, I think it's definitely worth your time and worth a look. So yeah, that's going to do it for my review of Oddity. If you've seen it, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Again, I know some people are saying it's the scariest movie of the year. Just to speak to that one more time, it wasn't really scary to me. There was one jump scare that was effective, and then one scene that I guess I could see being scary to some people, but it just wasn't that scary to me. Very similar to Michael Myers' chase scenes, so, you know. Not scary to me either. So yeah. But yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird, and remember, stay scared.